Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something.
What is it, Bruce? You already told us you were gay.
I have a boyfriend.
Oh, I knew we should have made you a eunuch.
So obviously we're being silly. Make their kids eunuchs? I hope not. That's terrible.
Oh, I guess so. Not very humane.
Isn't that like child abuse or something?
It depends if it's religious.
Yeah, that's true. If it's religious, then it's okay to abuse your kids, right?
Yeah. That's a different conversation.
Right?
Conversation
we're kind of getting
today,
off
Bruce.
track already. So it can be very, obviously we're being silly with that, with how we started it. But whenever you introduce your significant other to your parents, it can be a very daunting thing. Almost as daunting as, when you came out to them initially. And that's even though the name of our podcast is Our Queer Experience. And welcome, by the way, if this is your first time listening, welcome to Our Queer Experience. But I think that this is actually a topic that, affects everyone. Introducing your significant other to your parents is something that, people are very nervous about. Sitcoms have made thousands of episodes about that.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. No matter who you are. I think even more so for those of us whose parents may not be the most affirming,
so scary to you.
Care about us. I don't know. It's one thing for your kid to be gay in theory. It's another for your kid to be gay in practice. And I think once you bring home a significant, like a partner, it makes it a lot more real for your parents.
I get it, yeah.
And so I think that might be what makes it scary. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. How about, have you introduced Robbie to your parents, Chris?
I have not, no. I want to. We just haven't been able to find time to go see them. They obviously, I live in Ohio, they live in another state, so we just haven't been able to yet. I've met his parents, but he hasn't met mine. How about you? I mean, obviously
you say your parents live in another state, like they're in the witness protection. They're still in West Virginia, right?
Yeah, they are. I couldn't remember if I said where I was from or not.
Yeah, West Virginia. Home, country road, to the place where I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country road. We played West Virginia in a bowl game my senior year of college, and their band played that song on end, like just over and over and over again. Is that the state song as well? Or it is? Okay. I mean,
it's kind of like if you go to a Tennessee game, they're going to play Rocky Tops all the time. Same thing.
That is true. They do. It's insane. And Oklahoma, like the song Oklahoma is the state song. And like both OU and OSU both have like songs, like both have like hand gestures and movements that go along with like the waving wheat smelling so sweet when the wind comes sweeping behind the rain, as they say.
Good, sing it. Sing it for us. We're just going to do a karaoke hour. That's all this podcast can be.
We're good.
Right,
we're good.
Party
so
we have
met
questions to answer.
Bobby's parents, right?
I have, yes.
What was that
I was super nervous. So he's from another. He's from New York. So we drove a lot of hours to get there. I was nervous the whole time. So I got there and. Come to find out, they were out there kind of. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say this. Is it okay?
Well, you got to say it now.
In-laws on a podcast.
I'm not your in-laws yet.
Okay, fair. So they usually have some pretty good like drinks on hand. They're drinkers. So the way to handle meeting them for the first time is. Let's just get drunk together. And so that's what we did. Me and his mom, we were just sitting on the counter at the kitchen, in the kitchen counter, just drinking gin. No, I think it was
they put on gin and juice. Gotcha.
Right, maybe something like that. It was. I mean, I don't really drink. So by the time that So Robbie was doing something with his dad, and it was just me and his mom hanging out, which was super awkward, by the way. If you're introducing your significant other to your parents, don't leave them alone with your mom. That's just no. But anyway, so me and his mom were just sitting in the kitchen drinking gin, and I don't even know how long he was gone doing stuff with his dad. He came back, and it was the middle of the day. I was waiting, Robbie, you're back, like just drunk, just, and I don't think I was a mess, but I don't know. I got through it. I'm not saying that's even the best way to handle that. I think so. They like me less because I'm a boy, because it's a gay relationship.
Oh, yeah.
There's that part of it as well.
But you getting drunk the first time you met them, it's completely fine.
I think that honestly just made them like me more. I mean, they're
That's funny.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't recommend that strategy for very many people, but if they keep feeding you gin, might as well drink it, man.
That's hilarious. For those of you who drink, I don't drink, so I would have a much harder time in that situation. It's just funny.
Yeah,
drunk.
You might have to make
Bobby's mother. No, I mean I don't drink, but yeah, it's just funny to think of you getting drunk with your boyfriend's parents.
Right. So
that's so funny. Does Bobby have a religious upbringing as well? That you do?
Let me go ahead and finish your story real quick. So I think they like me, but they would like me more if I were a girl, obviously. But they've just they sent a Christmas card this past year, and in it for the first time they tell Bruce that we love him, and they actually addressed it to both of us, like as a couple. You know what I mean? And I think that was, even though it's something small, something minor, I think that's a big step for them.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, so it's all a work in progress. It's never going to be perfect right away. It's never going to be perfect. But if you work at it, what were you asking earlier? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I didn't know there's still more to your story. It's a great story. I was going to ask, does Robbie have the same kind of religious background that you do?
Not at all. He actually kind of rolls his eyes at it.
Well, that's a conversation for another time. So his parents aren't religious. It's just more of it's kind of weird for them to think of their son dating a boy kind of situation.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Which is something I've heard of before. It's one thing to have, like, gayness in theory. It's another when it happens to your own family. And even more so when that happens to your family is like, not only is my kid queer, but they're also dating someone. Oh, boy. That's a lot of things to take into account,
It is. Even though I was saying earlier that I wish that I, could introduce, it's not that I can't, but that my parents haven't met Robbie yet, but I feel like that's also kind of probably good. They have a little bit of time to get used to the idea before, it's suddenly thrust into their face. Let me go ahead and say this, too. So exactly. And so they're able to, they get a little bit more time than having it all sprung on them at once. So they did say that, if we go visit them, that they're okay with, we don't have to, he's allowed to stay at the house, you know what I mean? And that's, I wasn't even sure that would be, it sounds simple saying it out loud, but sometimes that's not how that would go down. And so, my parents are super conservative. So even if it was a girl, I don't think they'd let us, like, stay in the same bedroom and stuff like that. They've made those requests, which I understand, and of course, I respect. But I think that meant a lot to me too. That they're trying not to treat it any differently than if it were a straight relationship.
Well, that's good. Small steps.
That's all you can ask for, right? Yeah. It is a process.
Well, it sounds like. Well, do you have any plans of when you're going to introduce them to your family?
No. It's just a matter of getting time off, and so we'd have to rent a car, which is more of a hassle, and So it's just,
So the intersection of time and money,
Precisely. But it will.
You get your parents to come to you.
I would love it if they did, but you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I lost my train of thought. But it happens.
I did too. Did you tell your story yet? Because I know we were going to talk about your ex as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think I just started rambling and
I keyed you on. Yeah. So last spring I told my parents that I was dating someone. Like, I talked to my parents probably about 2 to 3 times a week. And so probably about a year ago, last February, I told my parents that I was like officially dating someone, because me and my ex dated for a few months before we made it official. And so told my parents about that. That was interesting. They took it in stride. They're like, okay. And I remember my mom being like, and you're sure it's more than just like a good friendship? And I'm like, yes, I'm positive. And they were both like, okay. And then they're like, what does he do? And I was like, oh, he's a pharmacist and blah, 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 blah. And we kind of moved to that path of awkward moment. Well, my mom came out here to visit me in April of last year. And I was like, well, this is the first time I'm dating someone for reals, so might as well, like, while my mom's here, like, my parents aren't going to come to Oklahoma very often. So while at least one of them's here, I might as well introduce the boyfriend. So we had dinner, but the night before was actually the really tough part, because my mom and I probably had a 2-hour-long conversation where she was basically like, she was very uncomfortable with this whole situation, but that she loved me, and she was going to go through with it because of that. And I said, I'm also very uncomfortable with this situation, but, you know, I think it's important that y'all know what I'm doing with my life, and I want to be more involved. So here you go. Yeah, that was 2 hours in the Zaxby's. Yeah, that was fun. And so dinner went on and wasn't overly awkward. It was fine. Afterwards, my mom was like, that most definitely was not the worst time of meeting someone's partner. And she told me about these other stories about meeting, like, my siblings' dates. Like, my siblings were dating, and we had a good laugh. And then we moved on and talked about other stuff. So it turned out okay. And then even, like, when I went home last summer to visit home, in August, after me and my boyfriend had broken up, my mom was asking about the different friends and professors she met when she was out here visiting. And I told her about all of them except for him. And she's like, I met someone else. She was like, how's your friend doing that I met? And I was like, oh, we broke up. And she made a joke. She was like, I didn't like him anyway. And I was like, oh, that's cute. She's like, and we laughed, and we moved on. So
that's nice.
That was cool. Yeah. Steps. So we'll see what happens.
There are a variety of responses you can get to introducing your significant other to your parents. They're not always going to go well. Usually they do. Usually your parents will at least try to be respectful. Sometimes they don't. And it is what it is. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be authentic with them if they want to. I'm not even the kind of person to say that, well, if they can't accept you, then cut them out of your life. I'm not even the kind of person to say that. But at some point, you still have to be authentic to yourself. And the responsibility is not on your shoulders anymore. So something that really helped me, and before I had told my parents, even that I was gay, is one of my buddies told me that so long as you're lying to your parent, you're the bad person. So long as you're not being authentic, then it's your bad, like it's on you. But if you are authentic and this is who I am, this is who I'm dating, and if you want to be a part of our life, that's awesome, but you don't have to be. And so that's your responsibility. Anything else is, you can't do anything about it. It's not your impetus to make everybody like it.
I agree that it's on you. If you don't come out, then, I've lived a closet life. I know that, like, constant fear of, I didn't come out at college because the last thing I wanted is for someone to be like, oh, hey, Andre, how's the gay life? While my parents are visiting and I wasn't out yet to them. And so freaks me out, the thought of that happening.
Sure.
But yeah, it is kind of on you. There's lots of reasons not to come out. Safety, security, finances, especially if you're a college student. I mean, coming out is a difference between having access to being able to stay in school and not for a lot of kids, for a lot of students. So this is not to say that you have to come out and it's something you have to do. I think that's always a very personal decision. It is up to you to make it for yourself when it's safe to do so.
Absolutely.
It's tough for me because I'm like you. I'm never one to say like, oh, if they can't handle it, then they can just go off and F themselves and go jump in a lake and we don't need them in my life, blah, blah, blah. And I'm very much not like that. I'm very much, family is incredibly important. Like, I remember I watch movies and, like, there's this, like, recurring, like, theme in both gay movies and straight movies of, like, oh, I'm getting married and, like, the week of the wedding is the first time our parents are meeting my spouse. Like, what? Yeah. No, that should not be a thing. And so even if, like, I know my parents aren't the most comfortable with it. And so I only really bring it up when it's important. Like, hey, I'm dating someone. Hey, I want you to meet this person I'm dating. And then I leave it up to them to ask questions about it. Because I know they eventually will because they'll get curious. Like, how are you doing with this person? They may not ask how the relationship is going, but they'll ask, like, how that person is. And be like, are they okay? What's their family situation? Because they want to make sure, I'm not getting involved with something crazy and insane.
Right.
Because there's a lot of different ways families have of relating to one another. And some of them are healthier than others. And I want to make sure that anyone I get involved with, even on a friendship level, is coming from a more healthy, or something on the healthier side of the fence than the less healthy side of the fence. Okay, all that said, it's hard for me because I think oftentimes in queer culture, you are told that if your parents aren't happy, then they're wrong, and you should be offended and angry and all of that. Yep. And I'm not in that camp. If your family responds quite negatively to the point of, like, throwing you out or cutting you off or anything like that, my response is like this for most situations in this regard, is like, I'm here for when you're ready to talk, but I'll put the ball in your court because you're the ones having the problem. So, which is tough, but I think that's the spirit of what you're saying, that if you give the impetus on them, then they can come to you when they're comfortable, and you can go at their speed, but you can also be prepared for them to not ever come to you, which it breaks my heart just saying that phrase, but I know that's a reality for many, many people.
And I think it's also important to note that when they come to you with questions, they might be questions that offend you, that, they're in their process of trying to wrap their head around this into, they're processing it just like you did.
Yeah.
They're not always going to say the right thing. They're going to, maybe offend you, but you have to get over that. Like, you can't just be offended in the discussion right there. If you, explain the situation, explain why that, if it's appropriate, maybe explain why that's not a good question to begin with and why. But until you explain that, you can't just throw your hands up and be offended. Like, that's...
Yeah. And that's true of so many things.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Patience and grace should always be the first response in all things. So in terms of concrete help for when to introduce your partner to your parents or to your family, I would always say tell them of the existence of the person first, and then slowly build up to the point of being able to introduce them to your family. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think every relationship, like between a child and a parent, is going to be different. I don't mean child, like I'm a child, like a son or a daughter and the parents. That relationship is always going to be different, no matter, depending on who you are and your past with, how long they've had to process all this, whether it's your first significant other, whether you still live at home. All these things matter. Yeah. And so you need to do it when you feel comfortable. You should do it, but if you force yourself, or more importantly, if you force your partner to do it before they're ready, then that's not healthy.
No, I agree with that. All involved parties should be knowing and, if not willing, at least open to the possibility of it happening.
Mm-hmm. And just, I feel like I say this with every episode, but any time that you're in a relationship, especially a romantic relationship, but it doesn't have to be, just communicate with each other. Just make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah.
And you'll solve so many problems before they even come up.
Yes. And that's true of any relationship, romantic, platonic, familial, educational, mentory, bank, I don't know. Any relationship possible.
No, absolutely true.
Communication's key, always.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. And even if you don't talk so good, you still gotta make a little bit of an effort, though. Your
parents raise you, they know how you talk. So,
Right.
And always helps to have friends who you can maybe practice with beforehand and who can support you afterwards. Mm-hmm. Or celebrate with you if it goes well.
Do you recommend that when you do introduce your parents to your significant other, that you do it, so you did your situation, you were in public, you were at a restaurant. Mine,
yes,
we were, in private. Do you think that one is better than another, or more likely to have a better outcome than another?
I think it depends. I think if your parents are coming to you, a public place might put them more at ease because it's like a neutral field. But if you go to them, then it might make more sense for it to happen like in their house, because then they have a home field advantage and they're more comfortable.
And they're more, yeah.
That's just a guess, yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I think I would agree with that. No, I would agree with that. But the activity itself of introducing your significant other is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for you, but also for them. So if you can, do something to make it a little less uncomfortable for them, I think that's probably a good thing to do.
Yep. We make sacrifices for those we love, but sometimes that sacrifice means make yourself more uncomfortable so that your parents can be more comfortable.
You can sacrifice your comfort level, but you can't sacrifice your authenticity. You can be offended, but you can't lie, or you shouldn't.
Again, everyone has their own situation for coming out. So
it's true.
It's hard for me to say should and can't. For authenticity, we both agree that authenticity is the goal.
Mm-hmm. When I say should, I don't mean that you're a bad person if you don't. I just mean that you should. If I were in your situation, knowing what I know in my life, having my experiences, that I recommend you move towards authenticity rather than away from it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to come out tomorrow.
And I agree with that conclusion. Yeah. And see, communication with the relationship, not just between us and our listeners, right?
Right.
Because I think I knew what you meant, but different folks listening, maybe not so much. So
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It's good to clarify. Yeah. Oh, shoot. We're out of time before I could sing Oklahoma for y'all. Oh, well. Maybe another day.
Yeah.
Darn.
We're so disappointed in that. Oh.
Actually,
you're not a bad singer. You sang Country Roads, and it was fairly good. So I'll give you props for that.
Thank you.
So what do we have coming up in our next episode? So what we got coming up?
Ooh, we are going to continue this conversation about parents because they are quite important to our lives. Parents, guardians, protectorates, et cetera, the people who raise us, whoever they may be. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to use the umbrella term parent. And so we will be having a guest who will kind of talk to us about their journey with accepting a queer child, having a queer child, and what that's like, kind of from the parental standpoint. Because I don't have kids, Bruce doesn't have kids, so we thought it was really important to bring someone in who had that kind of first-hand experience.
Looking forward to it.
I know. So am I. So we will see y'all on Friday, and have a great week. Bye, y'all.